Hi, I'm Carlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Carolyn Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Well, hey guys, happy Tuesday. I hope you're having a great day. So today we're going to do something that I have actually wanted to do for a while. And actually what I really wanted to do, why is my hair looking crazy in the back of this head? Actually, what I really wanted to do was I wanted to watch all of the McCarthy hearings because they were all televised, and I feel like the video has to exist somewhere. I just don't know where it is. I have scoured the internet. I have asked people. All I want is like the full video of the McCarthy hearings, but I haven't been able to track that down yet. It does exist somewhere. I just don't know where. If anyone can let me know, that would be fantastic. But what I did track down, thank you to Jen, is we do have about an hour and a half worth of clips from the McCarthy hearings, and I'm fairly certain that this came from like a documentary that was produced about this, where they basically just like took some clips and put it together. But you know what? Beggars can't be choosers. And because I can't find the full McCarthy hearings for us to watch over the course of weeks and weeks and weeks. Yeah, but just because it aired on that doesn't mean it doesn't exist somewhere. I think it probably exists in like the Library of the Library of Congress has the audio recordings. I know that, but I don't know if they have the video recordings. Anyway, so beggars can't be choosers. So we'll watch the hour and a half, and I thought this could be like a excuse me, a nice relaxing stream that we can do today, and we can just enjoy it together. I have never seen this. I've heard about it, and I'll read you what the History Channel has to say about it before we get started. Actually, let's just do that right now. So this is like the History Channel blurb. Well, actually, no. Let's do that before we get started because I got some other things I want to say. Anyway, we're gonna watch the hour and a half of footage that I have from the McCarthy hearings today, and I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope you guys are too. If anyone has ever seen this before, please let me know in the chat. I'd be fascinated to see who has seen it. I'm gonna bet most people haven't seen it. And the reason that I think that this is important is because, well, it was I guess depending on who you ask, McCarthy's either a hero or a villain. I think that generally speaking, my perception is that, well, it's the one we have for today, so that's going to have to do. Generally speaking, my perception is that McCarthy maybe had the right idea, but took it way too far. And I think it's also very similar to what we're seeing right now with the quite frankly, the moral panic that is going on the conservative right, and where, maybe there is a nugget of a good idea in there, but it's just covered in a mound of bullshit at this point. And it does, and the good idea has gotten completely lost because people have lost their goddamn minds, are hating gay people, are hating all drag queens, are basically persecuting anyone that disagrees with them. And so I kind of think it is it's a little bit like that, where maybe there was a nugget of goodness, but that nugget of goodness got covered in a mound of bullshit, and it turned into a witch hunt and a moral panic and all of that good stuff. So I think it's probably, pretty reminiscent of what is going on today, and maybe we'll be able to learn some lessons. I don't know, or maybe we'll just be able to be entertained for an hour and a half with whatever commentary I feel like doing on it. So I hope you guys are looking forward to it. Please mount that like button if you are looking forward to it. And we will get started in a second, but I just want to remind everyone that hang on, I don't have the tab pulled up. I thought I did, but I didn't do my one job. That's all right. Just want to remind everyone that because it is Tuesday, this is not my last stream of the day. It is but my first stream of the day, and we will be going live with Nothing Remotely Controversial at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time to ask Joshua about his psychic predictions about what is going on in the world. You do get a chance to ask him questions. Think up those super chats and join us at 9:30 p.m. tonight for the show. And if you don't believe in psychics, you can still come and hang out too. I don't want any Christian conservatives going, "You're going to hell for using tarot cards." I'll block your asses in about 2.5 seconds on that. I love it how people are like still surprised that 3 years later I have a psychic on my channel. They're like, "You're worshiping the devil." Like, well, go get laid or something, bro. Go watch something else. It's really not that hard. But we do this on Tuesday nights at 9:30. It's a fun show. Even if you don't believe in psychics, you're still welcome to come hang out. Just don't be a dick. Follow the basic rules of the chat, and we will be just fine. I also want to let people know. So, listen, guys, I did basically a whole stream about this yesterday, but we have come to a point, sadly, and I really hoped to never have to get to this point, but here we are. We have come to the point sadly where we've come to the point where the rubber is meeting the road. And what I mean by that is, well, let me do the super chats first. Fast Donnie said, Dr. Carlin, you had me at McCarthy hearings. Happy Tuesday. Thank you, Fast Donnie, for the super chat. This is the super chat I was thinking of. I'm sorry for what has been going on. Doing the right thing is almost a thankless job. Thank you, Naruto, for that. When I first started doing this stuff, I really thought that if I did the right thing and if I did good work, that that would shine through. Sadly, it has not. I really thought that if I showed people what was the root cause of a lot of the problems that we're experiencing in the world today, and I showed them how to find it, and I showed them how to fix it, and I explained it, that people would find that valuable enough to support it. And many have, and I don't want to dismiss that because many have. Um but not enough. And the rubber really met the road this week where, I already said that because people were not watching the school's videos on YouTube, I wasn't gonna do them anymore, and I was completely committed to that, but I also said that, you know what? People are still reading the Substack, actually significantly more people read my Substack than watch on YouTube, and so I will do the school's content there, I will write about it there, and that is where I can house it, and if people want the content, they can go over to the Substack because it was not working on YouTube. People refused to watch it. I tried so many times. I begged, I pleaded, I made short clips, I cajoled, I promoted the fuck out of it. People wouldn't watch it, and I had hoped that that maybe on Substack that people would be a little bit more thoughtful, but and I had big plans for this year. There are so many things that I wanted to do this year that I just needed people to support it. Like I I have everything fucking set up and I really just needed people to support it. And I'm a little heartbroken that it just hasn't worked out like that, and I think that one of the reasons that it hasn't worked out like that is I am under constant attack by the conservative right, and it just is never ending, and it doesn't there's nothing I can do. So, the rubber is meeting the road, guys, and here's the deal. One of the things, well, I mean, I guess 3 of the things, but we'll lump it into one is, one of the things that I think that I do that literally no one else does is that I take you inside, trainings for teachers and for, not even just for teachers, like corporate trainings or just different events that go on online to show you exactly what they're teaching, exactly how they're training, exactly how they do all of those things. And I actually think that that is probably one of the most valuable things that I do. There are a couple of conferences that are coming up later this year. I have 3 in mind right now, and I don't really know if I would be able to do more than that because this is not just like a 1-hour Zoom meeting. Like this is like a big project. And so there are 3 conferences coming up later this year that I wanted to be able to infiltrate and get video of and I have a team of volunteers that are ready to help do it. And I need people to support the idea though, is the thing, and, what I'm experiencing right now is that I'm being attacked by, like, literal white identitarians, and who is causing that's a Patrick Casey is a white identitarian, like, for real, like, he was in the group that was doing the Charlottesville stuff. He is spreading the same smear campaign that the walkaway campaign and Mike Harlow, who is Brandon Strzok's best friend, has been spreading about me for over a year. Mike Harlow has we already know that Mike Harlow is working has maybe not is working, but, like, has absolutely fed Nick Fuentes and the Groypers this smear campaign, and now we know that Mike Harlow has fed another white identitarian this smear campaign because this showed up this morning on my Twitter, and I have been attacked by white identitarians all day since this started. And I was attacked by conservative Christians for the previous 2 days before that. And I guess I'm telling you guys this because I have been trying so hard to rally people around actually showing up and looking at what's happening, and I've done, like, everything I can, and I keep getting derailed by the conservative right. It is repeated, it is ongoing, and the fucking walkaway campaign. I keep getting derailed by these assholes who are not fucking doing anything. None of these people are doing anything. But they keep undermining every single thing that I'm trying to do. And I've had it. I've had enough. I cannot continue to do this if people do not find what I am doing to be valuable. I cannot continue to put myself through this if people do not find what I am offering to be valuable. And I'll say it, like, I if you I mean, you can read this full blog post if you want. Actually, there's not really even anything to look at. We'll go up here to the picture. See, the thing is I really wanted to take you guys inside these events that are happening, and I wanted to show you what they're teaching, and I wanted to break it all down for you, and I wanted to show you how it, impacts your kids and impacts the world, and I can't do that because I'm constantly undermined by the conservative right. And so excuse me. And so, um, I guess that this is my last Hail Mary plea that and I probably should be doing this where I'm more, "Guys, we can do this. We can show what's going on inside these events." I probably should be more like pep talk right now. I don't have it in me. So I'm sorry. But the last Hail Mary plea I'm doing is I wanna know that I can't get conservative media to cover what I'm doing. I can't get them to share it. The only thing that they do is call me fat and ugly on Twitter all day. I can't get I can't get people to watch the videos. I can't I can't keep doing this if people don't want it. And, there it's fine to not want it. It is. It's fine to not want it. It's fine to say, "You know what, Carlin? The stuff that you cover, it's too dark for us. It's too hard to watch. We don't wanna see what is going on in the schools. We don't wanna see it. We just wanna pretend it's not happening, and we wanna sit back and, watch the baseball game or, like, whatever. That's all we really wanna do. We just don't think that this is valuable." It is perfectly fine to say that, it really is. But if I'm going to do this, there's one event that I need to start planning for, like, now. That would be a massive, massive, massive data dump. They undermine me all day, every day, and make it impossible for anyone to share my content, and they attack anyone that shares my content, and they discredit me constantly, they lie about me constantly, they smear me constantly. Like, I can go on and on and on and on and on with the list. And none of them even know what I do. None of them even look at what I'm trying to do. Anyway, here's brass tacks, guys. I need 202 new supporters to sign up for my Substack within the next month, or I'm not going to do this anymore. And the reason that number is what it is because there is a certain level of funding that I would need in order to cover this event in terms of, like, registration fees and, like, technology and stuff like that, that I'm not paying for out of pocket anymore. I'm not doing it anymore. If people want this, I will coordinate it. I will make sure it goes off without a hitch. I will be the public person that takes the bullet for doing this, but I cannot continue to pay out of my own pocket to put content out there that people are not watching and not engaging with because for some reason they just don't think it's important, even though it shows the keys to the kingdom about what is going on in the schools, what the teachers are doing, how they're doing it, like, explicitly. I cannot keep funding this out of my own pocket when I'm just being attacked all the time and all my work is being undermined. There are a lot of things that I can do that are not this. I can go and curate news and just do quick write-ups. "Oh, here's what Fox News reported in the news today that's anti-woke," and, like, put some perspective on it, and it will take me significantly less time than it does to do any of these events. And I don't mean to sound harsh about this, but, like, it is actually really upsetting to me that I'm in a position where I truly think I'm doing some of the best unwoke content, like, on the internet. I think I'm doing some of the most important content on the internet. See, this is gonna be a conservative right here. What do you say to someone who says no one is entitled to validation and recognition? Yeah, it is true. It is absolutely true that I am not entitled to validation and I'm not entitled to recognition. But guess what? You're not entitled to my time and my energy and my content when you don't support it. I'm not entitled to anything. If people don't want me doing this content, if they don't think it's valuable, then I don't have to do it. And it is actually more than like the monetary value of, because we're talking like, I mean, 200 supporters at $5, that's $1,000, okay? Let's just say someone said, "Carlin, don't worry about this. I will cut you $1,000 check right now," which is like not out of the realm of possibility. It's happened before. Um, I would say no. I mean, I'm not going to turn down like the money, but like it's not even about the money. It's not about the money. It's about not feeling as though this is valuable. Not feeling as though it's appreciated, knowing I know what the stats are on my videos. I know how many people, like, say, "Carlin, you're doing great work, it's amazing, They say all the nice things, and I'm sure they really mean them, but they don't actually watch it. Well, no, Kino, and I do appreciate that, like, we can talk behind the scenes, but this is kind of my line in the sand. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm really just like, I'm processing slowly that this thing that I thought I was gonna be able to do, I just don't have the support to do it. I just don't. Oh, bot. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I know I have amazing supporters. I just I can't I can't rationalize it anymore with the way that things are. And I hope this works. I hope actually saying to people, this is it. If you can't find 5 fucking dollars, because here's the thing, it's like, it's never about the $5, right? It's never about the $5. Anyone can find $5. Bot doesn't even have a fucking job. Anyone can find $5. But it's the fact, like, I have people right now on Unwoke Art with that golden Trump mug. Hang on, let me show you guys the golden Trump mug if you haven't seen it yet. You wanna know some real shit? This is my merch store. I'm selling this limited edition Trump design. This is the golden Trump mug. I have people this mug is $25 and then another $8 for shipping. I have people paying $33 for a mug. And I appreciate it. The mug is awesome. I mean, come on. It looks effing great, right? But it is mind-boggling to me that I can get people to pay 33 fucking dollars for a mug. But when I'm saying to you, I want to infiltrate this massive event. I want to stream the entire thing on the internet. I want to show you exactly what your kids' teachers are learning. I want to show you exactly what they're up to. I want to show you exactly what they're planning. I want to show you all their materials. I want to get it. I want to do it all live. I want to get it from start to finish. I'm going to need a couple dozen people, a whole bunch of technology. We're going to put some people in person. Like I have this massive plan to do this one fucking event. And I have 2 more planned after that that I want to do later this year. I can't get people to spend $5 fucking dollars to say, "Yes, Carlin, we consider that to be valuable." But they'll spend $33 on a golden Trump mug. Does that seem odd? Does that seem odd? That seems crazy to me. And, and so the rubber is meeting the road, and I really wanna be able to do these events for you guys. I really wanna be able to do that. When you say new subscribers on Substack, would that include people changing a local sub to a Substack? Yes, it would. Well, I mean, I guess technically it would, even though it wouldn't really. I would like it to be new subscribers, new people supporting the work, new people supporting what I'm doing. But I also can't tell the difference from newer to. I don't have a button in Substack that says this person transferred from locals. You know what I'm saying? So I guess it would have to count. Anyway, the ask is that I need 200, 200 new supporters on my Substack to be able to rationalize doing what's required to cover this event. And then with the next one, there'll be another ask and then another one. And the next one's actually going to be even more because the next one involves like plane tickets and bullshit like that. And yeah, anyway, I know I'm not pitching this well because I know I should be like more like, "Come on guys, we can do it. We can do it together. I know we can do it. I know that's what I should be like." How much does it cost? It's going to cost more than the $1,000 that I'm asking for the 200 new supporters. It's going to cost more than that. But it's not really the cost mark, and I do appreciate the super chat. It's not like it's $5 a month to subscribe to the Substack. Like it's not really about the money. I could I could front this out of pocket. To me, the bigger cost right now is like not feeling as though it's valued. Not feeling as though it's something people want. So, that's the deal, guys. It is a numbers game. And TC, I appreciate the super chat. Thank you. It is a numbers game. I need 200 more supporters in my Substack, and if I get it, and within the next month or so, and if I get it, then we'll do it, and if I don't, then I won't. And if someone else wants to pick up the mantle because you think I'm just asking too much, or you think that that you could do a better job, or any of that, then you are 100% welcome to take the mantle and do it. I mean, I think that would actually be pretty great if someone else would step up and do this stuff. Dr. K, what are your followers doing with the info they get from you? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I want to go too, Mark, but like I'm actually not going to be I wouldn't go to this one. Like that's not the way it would work. I would coordinate from like afar. Um anyway, there is one I do want to go to, but that's the second one. And I hope I really do, guys. Like I think one of the reasons I'm so upset is because I so want it to work. But I think I'm dreading the worst in that because I've seen the way this just works over and over and over again, I don't I want people to show up. There's no reason. We're talking about 1.5% of my overall Substack subscribers, and that doesn't even, like, count, like, people on YouTube or Twitter or any of the other platforms, and so it's like 200 is actually, like, a perfectly reasonable number. It's a more than reasonable number, and I'm just like, I'm just anticipating, and maybe I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm anticipating that it's just not gonna work because of all the signs and all the indicators that I've seen up until this point, and it's like, I so desperately want this to work. I so desperately want people to look at this content. This content is the key to the kingdom. This content is fucking everything. This content tells us exactly how they're doing what they're doing. And it just seems as though people don't want it, and it just really upsets me. It really does. It's a very big black pill to swallow. Pineapple Girl, do a benefactor donation one time for 100 and throw in the golden Trump mug as well. See, but I can't I don't wanna do it that way. I want people to want to support the work I'm doing. I don't wanna do a giveaway. I want them to want to support this, to see the value in this, to know why this is important. I don't wanna have to bribe people. I don't know if that makes sense. I feel like this should be something that people should wanna support. Well, bot, if we do it, I, of course, would love your help with that. I feel like this is something that people should support, and for everyone that's sending super chats, I really hope you're subscribed on the Substack. Oh, Kazmar, Zen Your Work was just delivered and I have the day off tomorrow. Zen Your Work was my first book that I wrote about mindfulness in the workplace. And I do appreciate all the offers. Pineapple Girl, I see you'll message me. That's so here's the thing, guys. I know I have the volunteers that I can make this happen. The volunteers are not the problem. The money isn't even really the problem because I've been fronting the money for stuff like this for like a while, or I do have people that I know. Like I said, I know I have people who will cut checks if I need to. What I'm Yeah, Kino's already subscribed at the founders level. What I'm struggling with right now is feeling as though there are not enough people who find this valuable. This is not it really truly has nothing to do with, like, the dollar amount. It has to do with there should be way more fucking people that find this valuable. I don't know where to find them. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get in front of them. I have conservative fucking influencers smearing me on Twitter all day, every day, to the point where, like, anyone paying attention to them thinks I'm crazy and is not at all going to pay attention to any of what I'm doing. Oh, no, no, that's not gonna happen. No, no, no. No, no, no. And so this is when I say that the conservative right is trying to sabotage and undermine what I'm doing, that's what I mean, is the constant 2 fucking years of smear campaigns that these people have been doing. I mean, every day. It has made it really difficult to actually get people who are paying attention to even look at what I'm doing. So if I can't find the audience for it, and I can't do it myself anymore, I've tried, I can't do it myself. Then I have to call a spade, and I have to say it just didn't work, and I tried my best, and it just didn't work, and I really hope it's gonna be able to happen. I really, really hope that people will step up. I really, really hope that people wanna see, because I really wanna do this for you. I really do. Juju, Substack member, super chat as I can and tell every parent that will listen about you and what I've learned. I'm here to help you because you've helped me. I appreciate that. So I hope it'll work, guys. Oh, well, Deb Philman has been one of the chief smearers. Yeah, one of the chief smearers. Not the only one by a long shot, but one of the chief ones. I'm not gonna form a group. I don't believe in that. I like, what I wanna do is teach people and to give them the tools and and if I can't get them to support $5 a month on a website where I'm giving them so much content, it is just ridiculous the amount of content that I'm churning out on that Substack. I'm churning out so much content on this Substack that most people can't churn out the they can't keep up with the content that I'm turning out. And so if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. I hope it is. And I hope you guys will help with that. And maybe when I talk about it tomorrow, I'll be a little less cryy, okay? I will try. I will try. I'm like I said, I'm processing and I'm trying to like let go, and I've put it in God's hands now. Substack is the email blast. So I put it in God's hands now, and hopefully it works. And if it doesn't, then it just needs there needs to like I just need to come to grips with the fact that it's like time to move on to other things and to do things in a different way and to just do things that are easier. I don't pray as you think of praying, but yeah, I have begged and pleaded. But maybe, I mean, a lot of people tell me that I'm just like way too ahead of my time with like the content that I'm doing. I'm way too far ahead of things. Like people can't wrap their heads around it. People can't understand it. And Commander Guy, I really appreciate it. Thank you. So I've done what I can do, guys. I've put it out there. I've put it out into the universe, and that's what I need. And I do hope people will respond because I really do want to do this. I want to do it so badly. It would be such great content. Um, and I hope we can make it work. But that's gonna be enough of my crying. Oh my gosh, I really thought I'd cried my way out. I thought I'd got that out of my system. I'm sorry, but well, I would like to think that I'm stronger than this, but 2 solid years of being constantly harassed by mobs on the internet will break anyone, I promise you. It'll break anyone, I promise you. Anyway, let's go on to our main event, and I will get myself together because I really do wanna watch this, and I wanted to do something that was just a little bit like I didn't have to think today, to be honest with you. And we're gonna watch some about an hour and a half of clips from the Army McCarthy hearings. And this is the excuse me. This is the blurb on history.com. Yeah, that's the truth of it. So I put everything I had into this, and sometimes it's just not enough. Sometimes it's not enough. Anyway, here is the blurb from history.com. Oh god. I like Target though. I like Target. I don't care about bathing suits. There are so many more important things that are not bathing suits. I'll say fuck Target because you asked me very nicely, but I like Target and I'm not going to boycott Target and I don't care what you guys think. Sin, I'll be your nitwits party gal. Well, thank you, Sin. Thank you. Thank you. No one has to buy them, Kino. Listen, I am far more concerned about schools giving out chest binders for free when parents don't know about it than I am about a store selling them when no one has to buy them. Anyway, let's read our blurb from history.com. Already infamous for his aggressive interrogations of suspected communists, Wisconsin Senator Joseph R. McCarthy earned more notoriety via these televised 1954 congressional hearings. McCarthy had turned his investigation to Army security, but the Army, in turn, charged him with using improper influence to win preferential treatment for a former staff member, Private G. David Shine. When the senator tried to emphasize Army lawyers Joseph Welch's communist ties, Welch delivered the famous "Have you no sense of decency?" rebuke. Although McCarthy was acquitted, his popular support waned and his political career was soon over. Brooklyn Way says, "I get to be the bitch ass bodyguard." I do appreciate all you're doing, Brooklyn. The Army McCarthy hearings dominated national television from April to June 1954. A subcommittee of the Senate Committee on Government Operations was seeking to learn whether Senator Joseph R. McCarthy had used improper influence to win preferential treatment for Private Shine, a former member of the senator's staff who had been drafted. McCarthy countercharged that the Army was trying to derail his embarrassing investigations of Army security practices through blackmail and intimidation. The congressional hearings were among the first to be televised. They captured national attention because of McCarthy's notoriety. The camera made clear his methods and manner, greatly weakening his popular support and leading to his censure by the Senate in December of 1954. The word McCarthyism became synonymous with the practice of publicizing accusations of treason and disloyalty with insufficient evidence. Now, that seems like it sounds a little bit like what's going on today, just a little bit. And guys, we are going to be watching about an hour and a half of these hearings. Here is the clip, and again, thank you to Jen for finding this for us. Early in 1954, the U.S. Army accused McCarthy and his chief counsel, Roy Cohn, of improperly pressuring the Army to give favorable treatment to G. David Shine, a former aide to McCarthy and a friend of Cohn's, who was then serving in the Army as a private. McCarthy claimed that the accusation was made in bad faith in retaliation for his questioning of Zwicker the previous year. Republican Senator Carl Mund was appointed to chair the committee, and the Army McCarthy hearings convened in April 22nd of 1954. And yeah, we're gonna watch some clips, and I'm really excited about it. Kristen said, "Stay strong. This will work out for you." I hope it will. I hope it will. And for everyone asking, have I reached out to this outlet? Have I reached out to that outlet? Have I reached out to this person and that person? Listen, guys, like the vast majority of the people that you're asking about, they know about it. They follow me. Some of them I've reached out to and they've just ignored me. Others I don't even bother because I know that they're not going to respond. I'm kind of in the place of like, I don't want to reach out to conservative media anymore because they never respond. And so it's like a big waste of my time. So but maybe they'll respond to you. I don't know. That's all I can do. Where did she find it? This is like a random clip that was uploaded to YouTube. Only has 3,000 views. All right, guys, let's get this party started. I don't really know what to expect, but I think we're gonna have a good show. Oh shit. I don't think I'm hooked into the sound. I almost ruined it. Mobby. Yeah, I've reached out to conservative media, like I'm just setting up my sound, I'm talking here. I've reached out to conservative media, like, with the important stories, with, the really important stories, and just nothing. Nothing at all. Or they lie to be like, "Oh, yeah, we're gonna cover it," and then they never do. So, yeah, I give up on them. What can I do? And, but we're not gonna worry about that anymore right now. Let's watch the show. All hooked into the damn. Okay, one more time. One more time. Hooked into the sound, I think. Alright, I think I got it this time. Full screen. There we go, now it's hooked into the sound.
Everything you are about to see actually happened. 8 hours a day for 36 days, a special Senate subcommittee held televised hearings known as the Army McCarthy hearings in the spring of 1954. In these hearings, the Army charged that Senator McCarthy and his chief counsel, Roy Cohn, had first tried to keep G. David Schein, a consultant to the McCarthy committee, out of the Army. Second, that they tried to get a direct commission for Schein. And finally, once he was inducted, that they sought special favor for him. McCarthy and Cohn countercharged that the Army attempted blackmail by holding Private Schein as a hostage in order to stop McCarthy's investigation of alleged communism at various Army bases. The subject was not G. David Schein, a single Army private, but the American democracy, and the hearings became the greatest political spectacle of its history.
Oh, this is that documentary that so this is a documentary. This is great because I was actually looking for this. This is a documentary called Point of Order that I couldn't find anywhere except, someone uploaded it to YouTube. How great for us. Look how big that room is.
One of the best things that had ever happened to me in my life was my opportunity for service in the United States Army in 2 world wars.
I've never filed a brief. I've never drawn a complaint. I'm strictly a Washington-type lawyer.
I came down from Boston in the guise of a simple trial lawyer. I supposed I'd try to think up some questions to ask witnesses, and then if I didn't like the answer, ask another one.
Presiding over these hearings is a responsibility which I do not welcome.
To the best of my ability, I am pursuing this investigation in order to develop the facts. We're performing a public
I love
duty,
this. This is just like a 50s movie.
trust, one of the most disagreeable
It's like 12 Angry Men.
I've ever had to perform in the course of my public service.
Or what is that movie about
I have
the
no
monkey
interest in
trial, the
life.
Scopes monkey
That
trial?
the past is my great concern.
That's a great movie.
For the vitality of our armed forces.
I am a private in the United States Army. I have received many orders, quite unusual for a private in the Army to receive.
Roy Cohn is here speaking for Roy Cohn to give the facts. I have no counsel.
The average American can do very little insofar as digging communist espionage agents out of our government is concerned. They must depend upon those of us whom they send down here to man the watchtowers of the nation.
See, when he says stuff like that, like, hang on, I'm gonna turn my sound down a little bit. I think I'm a little too loud. When he says stuff like that, like the average, like, you know, you're kind of like, oh shit, McCarthy was right.
The thing that the American people
Inherit the
can
Wind.
do
That was
is
that movie. Thank
to
you, guys.
be vigilant day and night to make sure they don't have communists teaching the sons and daughters of America. Now, I realize that the minute
McCarthy was
anyone
right.
tries to get a communist out of a college, out of a university, there will be raised the phony cry that you're interfering with academic freedom.
Holy shit.
I would like to emphasize that there is no academic freedom where a communist is concerned. He is not a free agent. He has no freedom of thought, no freedom of expression.
McCarthy was
He
right.
must take his orders from Moscow, or he will no longer be a member of the Communist Party. I may say, Mr. Jenkins, I don't care how much of a screwball or a crackpot any professor or teacher may be, as long as he or she is a free agent. But once you have this United States, from the Atlantic to the Pacific, covered with a network of professors and teachers who are getting their orders from Moscow, from an organization that wants to destroy this nation, that wants to corrupt the minds of youth, then, Mr. Jenkins, we are rapidly losing the battle. The thing that I think we must remember is that this is a war which a brutalitarian force has won to a greater extent than any brutalitarian force has won a war in the history of the world before. For example, Christianity, which has been in existence for 2,000 years, has not converted, convinced nearly as many people as this communist brutalitarianism has enslaved in 106 years. And they're not going to stop. I know that many of my good friends.
No, I don't think it was good.
Seem to feel this is sort of a game you can play.
Yeah, Mark says, replace Moscow with Beijing and Russia with China. Yeah, I mean, the thing of it is like, so my perception of the McCarthy hearings is that, you know, listen, people are allowed to be communists. I'm sorry. I know this is going to upset people. People are allowed to be communists. They're allowed to be socialists. Now, I think those people are batshit insane. I think when those people are living their private lives, that's, you know, one thing. I do think that when it comes to funding it with our taxpayer dollars, that is a completely other thing. And I think the problem that I have with McCarthy, at least my perception of it, is that it went way outside the bounds of like, keep this stuff out of government, keep this stuff out of like public education, stuff like that. Like when you're talking about blacklisting people in Hollywood, that to me, I don't like that. I'm sorry. That might not, like, just because I don't agree with them doesn't mean like that I think that they should be blacklisted. So.
That you can talk about communism as though it's something 10,000 miles away. Mr. Jenkins, to answer your question, let me say it's right here with us now. Unless we make sure that there is no infiltration of our government then just as certain as you sit there, in the period of our lives,
Well, that's probably
you
true,
will
Peter.
see a red world. Mr. Jenkins, anyone who has followed the
What's going to come of this, I suspect, is that like I'm going to come out of this being more sympathetic to Joseph McCarthy than I probably feel comfortable. It's kind of like Trump. It's like I came out of the whole, leaving the left thing being far more sympathetic to Trump than I was ever comfortable being. And I feel like the same thing is going to happen with McCarthy.
communist conspiracy, even remotely, and who can add 2 and 2, will tell you that there is no remote possibility of this war which we're in today, and it's a war which we've been losing, no remote possibility of this ending except by victory or by death for this civilization.
Committee will please come to order.
I'd suggest in the interest of these hearings, the charges are often forgotten. The charges were, did Senator McCarthy and 2 members of his staff use improper pressure for Mr. David Shine with the Army? The counter charge was that there was blackmail on the part of the Army and the use of Mr. Shine as a hostage. Now, those are the charges that have been made. Gentlemen of the committee, in order that we may all be quite clear as to just why this hearing has come about, it is necessary for me to refer at the outset to Private G. David Shine, a former consultant to this committee. I have been informed, 1, from mid-July of last year until March 1st of this year, David Shine was discussed between one branch or other of the Department of the Army and Senator McCarthy or members of his staff in more than 65 telephone calls. 2, this matter was discussed at approximately 19 meetings between Army personnel and Senator McCarthy or members of his staff. 3, requests made on Shine's behalf ranged from several for a direct commission before he was inducted to many for special assignments, relief from routine duties such as KP, extra time off, and special visitor privileges. I may say that during my tenure as Secretary of the Army, there is no record that matches this persistent, tireless effort to obtain special consideration and privileges for this man. The Shine case is only an example of the wrongful seeking of privilege, of the perversion of power. It has been a distraction that has kept many men from the performance of tasks far more important.
I mean, can I ask like a dumb question? Like, isn't this sort of stuff like, was it uncommon for politicians to try to seek special favor for their friends? Like this whole thing, it kind of seems like it's what's the big deal? Does this not happen all the time? Why are they zeroing in on this incident specifically? I guess I'm looking for people who have more familiarity with like the circumstances of it.
For the welfare of this country and the convenience of a single Army private.
I said, let's talk about Shine. And that started a chain of events, an experience similar to none which I have had in my life. Mr. Cohn became extremely agitated, and
but they're like trumped up charges, right? It's like we're gonna get him on something like with Trump. Literally trumped up charges, haha, pun intended.
The Army was not agreeing to an assignment for Shine. I said to Cohn that I'd like to give him some advice. I pointed out to him that the national interest required that Shine be treated just like every other soldier.
Well, what was his reply to that, Mr. Adams?
He exploded at that and said that
I guess we don't need the
if the
captions.
national
They have the
interest was the
captions.
thing we were interested in, he'd give us a little bit. I knew that 90% of all inductees ultimately face overseas duty, and I knew that one day we were going to face that problem, Mr. Cohn, as to Shine. I asked him what would happen if Shine got overseas duty.
You mean you were breaking the news gently, Mr.
Yes, sir. That is right. I asked him what would happen if Shine got overseas duty. He responded with vigor and force. Stevens is through as Secretary of the Army. I said, oh, Roy, something to this effect. Oh, Roy, now don't say that. I said, come on. Really, what is going to happen if Shine gets overseas duty? And he responded with even more force, we'll wreck the Army.
That does
This
seem a
was the
little
subject.
excessive.
Shine.
Well, now, do we get it that you deny it, you affirm it, or you say you've got no recollection of it? Now, let's get it
I'm telling you,
straight.
sir, that number one, I have a pretty good recollection. Number two, I remember that day. Number three, I do not remember saying any of those things the way Mr. Adams has them. And number four, I've checked with the only other person who was there on that occasion, and he says my recollection is correct, that I did not make those statements.
And as I get it now, you're saying that you have no recollection of it.
No, sir. I say I do
Hang
not.
on. Catalyst, this is a no whining chat. I don't want to hear it anymore. Like, it's not going to change what happened. I'm not going to look favorably on people who continue to whine after they got banned. And I, quite frankly, you were having a lot of feelings, and I don't disagree with Brooklyn putting you in a timeout. So the whining is going to stop. Thank you.
Cool, having said that.
Well, that's what I get your answer
Yes,
to be.
sir.
Now, you don't recall having said it,
No, sir.
but you don't deny it.
Sir, I'm saying I did not say that. I am sure
All
I
right,
did.
now you're
Roy
saying
Cohn
you
is
did
such a
not say it,
liar.
Mr. Cohn.
Roy
Yes, sir.
Cohn
I
is so
say I am sure
smarmy.
that I did not make that statement, and I am sure that Mr. Adams and anybody else with any sense,
I don't
and
trust
Mr.
him.
Adams has a lot of sense, could not ever believe that I was threatening to wreck the Army or that I could wreck the Army. I say, sir, the statement is ridiculous.
I'm talking about Stevens being through as Secretary of the Army.
That's equally ridiculous, sir.
And untrue.
Yes, sir. Equally ridiculous and untrue.
Senator McCarthy said
I mean, he probably did say it, but it wasn't meant to be taken literally.
that one of the few things that he had trouble with Mr. Cohen about was David Shine. He said that Roy thinks that Dave ought to be a general and operate from a penthouse on the Waldorf Astoria, or words to that effect.
Mr. Cohn telephoned me on the afternoon of July 31st. He stated that Mr. David Shine of the committee staff was about to be drafted, and that he, Mr. Cohn, and Senator McCarthy felt that he should have a direct commission for which they considered him qualified by education. I phoned General Hull about 4:30 on July 31st. He informed me that Mr. Shine's qualifications did not justify his direct commissioning in any of these branches. General Hull said that the opportunity to qualify for officer candidate training was open to Mr. Shine, as it was to any other citizen drafted into the armed forces, and that the Secretary of the Army, who was aware of all the facts in the case, had directed that the treatment accorded and the opportunities afforded Mr. Shine.
So am I correct in saying that, like, this Shine guy worked for McCarthy, and then Shine got drafted into the Army as a private, and then because he worked for McCarthy and McCarthy really liked him, McCarthy tried to get, like, him special privileges or whatever, and now they're trying to nail McCarthy's ass because they're pissed off at him over the getting of the Army private special privileges. And this was worthy of, like, taxpayer funding. Okay, seems a little excessive to me if I'm honest about it, but fine.
Shine, after his entry into the military service, should be the same as for any other American citizen, no more and no less. Mr. Cohn came to my office at 11:20 a.m. on August 1st, 1953. I told him the substance of General Hull's reply to my inquiry.
I asked if Mr. Shine had had ROTC. Mr. Cohn replied that Mr. Shine had no ROTC training and that there appeared to be no chance of a commission in one of the other branches except at the expense of a protracted term of service. Mr. Cohn then asked if the CIA could not arrange to have
Roy
Mr. Shine
Cohn
commissioned,
pushed it.
as he had
Told you,
investigative
smarmy.
experience. I replied that CIA drew a few commissioned personnel by
Oh, see, Peter knows everything. This is why King Peter is King Peter of the chat. Worked for McCarthy and wrote an anti-communist pamphlet called The Definition of Communism. And so they're retaliating against him for writing an anti-communist pamphlet. Okay, makes sense.
the armed services, but gave them additional training and required a longer tour of duty. However, I offered to telephone Mr. Alan Dulles, Director of Central Intelligence, to ask about the possibility. Mr. Cohn said that I need not do this. The CIA, he said, was too juicy a subject for future investigation, and it would not be right to ask them to get Mr. Shine commissioned and then investigate the organization later.
King Peter, when a compliment is given, just accept it. I'm just saying.
State whether or not on either of those occasions you felt that Mr. Cohn was being too persistent or was trying to high pressure anyone.
Not me, sir.
Now, Mr. Secretary, that was not a part of your pattern to hold this boy Shine as a sort of a hostage.
Wait.
And
Murphy's Pool. You didn't have to do that, Murphy's Pool. Thank you. I do really. I know you guys, I know like super chats are a way of showing your love. It's kind of a fucked up system, right? It's like parents who buy the love of their children. And so I do appreciate it. Thank you, Murphy's Pool, the big spender of the day. Thank you. Very generous. Murphy's Pool, you get a free question tonight. Is Mel Gibson coming to Pork Fest? What did Dennis post? Hang on. It's like breaking news. I don't think Mel Gibson's coming to Pork Fest. I'll look it up though, Kino. It's true. Murphy's Pool just whipped out his dick and presented it to everyone. Murphy's Pool, the big dick in the room tonight. In all the right ways.
used him as a bait.
Oh, God.
Of a baiting.
King Peter! King Peter not to be out. Now you guys are going to make me blush. Okay, keep going. Keep one-upping each other. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you, King Peter of the chat. Oh my God, you guys are the best. I really do appreciate it. Wow. Okay, now let's find 200 people to sign up for my Substack. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the super chats from today and I'm going to invest it in some advertising. That's what I'm going to do. Going to invest it in some advertising, just like the Daily Wire does with all their bullshit. And so we will reinvest. I appreciate it, guys. Well, I can't hear an Irish accent through the chat, Declane. Free drinks for everyone, yes. Oh my God. Thank you, guys. All right, let's keep going.
This investigation, was it?
Certainly not. And if he was a
He's got to hide the
hostage,
bill
so
from his
have
wife.
hundreds, if not millions, of young Americans been hostages when they're doing their duty in the service for their country.
The implication is here. You just well face it, sir. The implication is here that you were trying to buy off this committee from investigating the Army. Now, if that is true, you did have the authority to grant the commission and order it granted, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
You refused to go that far.
I certainly did. Mr. Chairman, a point of order.
And this time is expired. I'll listen to the point of order.
Mr. Chairman, I want to point out that I think that question is completely improper and unfair. The implication is that this chairman could have been bought off. All the evidence is that this chairman could, under no circumstances, have been bought off this investigation.
Now,
Thank you, Murphy's Pool.
Adams, a charge
That's good
has been
advice, King
made
Peter.
against you that you not only offered special dispensations for shine
Welcome.
in
Thank
order
you.
to pacify the staff, but that you offered up bigger bait from time to time. To wit, subversives, homosexuals
Homosexuals.
in the Air Force and in the Navy.
Those damn homosexuals.
Did you ever do that, Mr. Adams?
I did not.
We got a definite answer on that, didn't we?
That is correct, sir. You will always get a definite answer on that.
You remember that distinctly?
I remember that distinctly,
All right.
sir. I never made such an offer. I never would make such an offer. There
Not
was
that
under
Mel Gibson,
investigation
Kino.
in the Army at that time, and under the supervision of my office being investigated for the Secretary of the Army, some very serious allegations with reference to homosexual behavior on the part of a group of Army officers at a large Army base in the South. The thing that further...
But it wasn't in Tennessee, Mr. Adams.
No, sir, it was not.
Mr. Adams, point of order? Point of order. Let's exclude Arkansas, too.
I can do that, sir.
Chair would like to raise a point of order on behalf of South Dakota, which might also be considered the South.
I can exclude all of the states of the members of this committee.
Did it come to your attention that this private David Shine was hiring his fellow soldiers and paying them money to clean his rifle?
I mean, that just sounds like capitalism right there.
I think I heard something about that later.
Did it come to your attention that he was not cleaning up his quarters, such as other soldiers were required to do according to regulations?
Not while he was at Fort Dix, but I heard about it afterwards.
I'm sorry. What the fuck? There was actually a congressional hearing about a guy paying people to clean his rifle and make his bed. Is this for real? This is what the fucking McCarthy hearings were? Is this for real?
Yes, sir.
Did you know that when the soldiers at Fort Dix
I was born on April 12th as well, DeClain.
In the area to another.
In 1981.
And other points. The private Shine almost invariably rode in the cab of the truck, whereas the other soldiers, sometimes numbering 40 and 50, were packed like cattle or sheep in the bed of the truck and exposed to the weather. Did you learn that?
No, sir.
When counsel says, have you learned that as many as 40 young men were packed in the back end of a truck like cattle, that is not a hypothetical question. That's completely unfair to the Army. I don't think, I've been in the military for a while. I've never seen young men treated like cattle. And I know that I don't think we should let it grow to the mothers of this country that their sons are being treated like cattle, because they are not. Is it true that one of the charges made against Mr. Shine, and again, may I say that I have no
I'm 29.
record of this,
Obviously.
Mr. Shine was ordered not to discuss the charges.
29.
The only record I have is a left-wing paper who got the charges which we couldn't get. One of the charges was that his shoes commercially polished. Is that one of the bits of special favor he got? He was allowed to pay 10 cents to have his shoes polished?
I don't know, sir.
Another charge as...
That does seem a little stupid.
He had special boots with straps and buckles on the side. In other words, I understand that Dave has about a size 12 or 13 foot, and he couldn't get a 13, I said. He couldn't get a shoe at the usual place, so he went downtown and bought a shoe. And that's one of the charges against him. You don't think the committee intervened to allow him to buy a special shoe, do you?
I wouldn't know. I don't have any information on that, Senator McCarthy.
Another of the charges was that he had a fur-lined hood. Pretty serious, do you think?
What was that?
That he had a fur-lined hood. Another that he complained about the cold weather. You think this committee intervened to allow him to complain about the cold weather?
I wouldn't think so. I don't know anything about that.
Another charge was that instead of walking behind a Jeep that was parked, he walked in front of a Jeep. Do you think that anyone on the committee called and asked permission for him to walk in front of the Jeep? Now, Katz and I both agree, Colonel,
Did you watch this when it was
that
on
the average
TV,
person
Declan?
back in this audience even, looking at this, the television audience, and they are the jury in this case, can't help but get a completely false impression from these phony charts, and that this is completely dishonest, Colonel. Isn't that true?
No, sir, it is not true.
Can you tell me why they didn't black out the passes, the absence of the average trainee? Why do they only use the symbol to black out shines and prepare these huge charts for the television audience? Well, General, would you come over here then so I can show you this?
I have a copy of it here.
All right, would you look at it, Doctor? Now, this was not put out by the Army, General, as far as I know, was it?
Yes, sir, I think it was.
You know who put it out?
I suppose that the council which represented the Army prepared this from documentary evidence that was submitted to them.
All right, now,
But
let's
the
go on.
form, Senator, the black and for Private Shine and the white for the normal trainee, I don't know why that differentiation was made. It could have been made both black.
Maybe I can tell you why, General. It's a dishonest, phony attempt to deceive the people watching on television, putting up this chart showing everything black on Shine's chart and showing it white on the average trainee. So let's black it in. Make sure we make no mistake. You'll find that in all these areas, which we've now blacked
They
in, which were
colored
white,
in the fucking chart.
Private
It was
Shine got a black block for doing exactly the same as the other privates under your command.
sneaky fuckers.
Yeah.
I'm on
So you agree
McCarthy's
with me that
side.
that makes this a completely dishonest.
This is
phony chart?
bullshit.
No, sir, I don't think anything that put out from the Army is dishonest.
That was a Trump move right there.
General,
Don't
I
think that Trump didn't see
represent the
this.
as much as anyone in this room does. I believe that you and I, just in common honesty, would agree that if when Shine got a weekend off, it's blacked out. Then if another draftee get a weekend off, they should be blacked out. But after all, this is being tried before an audience or jury, I should say.
There's something comforting about the fact that everything was fucked up back then too. This is fucking literal. They had a fucking Senate hearing over a private in the Army getting his shoe shined. Like, what the?
They have quite a few million people.
Oh, I had no idea this was going to be
Sir, all I
comedy. I
can
thought
give
this
you
was
is
a
my own
serious
opinion.
stream. No, comedy. Exactly what we needed.
In my opinion, the reason that it was done was just for comparative purposes, just like in a prize fight on television. One of the fighters wears dark trunks, and one of the fighters wear light trunks. That's the only reason that I could see.
Exactly.
really feel it would
Stupid
have
ass
been
hearing
more
is the American
informative
the American
and less
way.
deceptive to the committee? When you're preparing charts to be compared, if you had used comparable symbols
God.
instead of two sets of symbols such as you did use.
Well, I didn't know that anyone would be deceived by it.
Because I'm sure your answer is not responsive. It would have avoided all the necessity of calling you in and having this comparison. We would have understood it right from the very beginning.
Yes, and I think it would have been more informative, but so far as deceptive, I had not felt that it had deceived.
I'm not accusing you of attempting to deceive. Very frankly, you did deceive me.
Mr. Carr called on me with Mr. Roy Cohn on October 2nd, 1953. When they were in my office that day, I considered that they were there for a common purpose, and that Mr. Cohn's statements on behalf of Shine met with Mr. Carr's approval. Secondly, Mr. Cohn did most of the talking, as the chronology indicates, but Mr. Carr, in my recollection, also, in a lesser way, a far lesser way, brought up the same thing. As I have said before, Mr. Cohn did most of the talking on this occasion, as well as on others. But at no time during the conversation did Mr. Carr take exception to Mr. Cohn's action or in any way attempt to disassociate
Nice to meet you,
himself from the
DeClain.
subject
Welcome.
of the
You're
special
welcome
assignment
anytime.
for Mr. Shine. The very fact that he was the executive director of the subcommittee staff and did not object when I was asked for the convenience of the subcommittee to make a special assignment for one of his subordinates left me with a definite impression that he fully concurred in Mr. Cohn's position. Mr. Carr?
Mr. Chairman, you have a point of order? Is this a new theory of guilt by silence, I wonder?
That is a proper question for the secretary to ask in his own time. I would appreciate it if no spurious, to quote the illustrious council, points of order would be made.
Oh yes, we certainly wouldn't want to waste time with scurrilous points of order.
Point of order. You know, I can assure you there will be no interruption.
This is a very serious hearing. All right.
Thank you very much.
No shenanigans.
Now to make a point of order that the secretary is trying to impute guilt by silence to Mr. Carr. Secretary Stevens, I've been trying to follow your answers both to Senator Munt and to other senators and Mr. Cohen who have asked you about this. You say that Carr backed up Mr. Cohen. Do I understand that you mean he backed him up by silence or backed him up by conversation? If he backed him up by conversation, then let's have the conversation.
Well, he, first of all, he did nothing to stop the conversation.
All right, then we have silence. Say that he tried to improperly influence you. Now, if he said something that was improper, we should know what he said. If he didn't say anything improper, if you can't remember anything improper, then you should tell us. Let me say this. I think you're trying to give us an honest account.
That's right.
Some of my friends don't agree with that, I may say.
My friends on the other side of the aisle.
You are being asked at the question at the top, almost at the top of the page, that this college graduate referring to
All right.
Shine
We'll watch
partially
this
filled out an
sometime too.
application,
Relax.
a form for a commission in the Army. Senator McCarthy, I don't know
Relax.
the slightest thing about the application he filled out. Mr. Jenkins, you don't know one thing about that? Senator McCarthy, I never saw it. Senator, I have the application that David Shine filled out, and I can show you.
Don't tell me I notarized it.
I'm sorry?
I said, don't tell me I notarized it.
No, you merely signed it.
Don't you think, actually, Mr. Secretary, this is all ridiculous in the extreme?
Yes.
For this committee and all of these competent Army officers to be sitting here trying to find out why a private in the Army was successively promoted until he is finally up to the very top position of private.
Yes, I do think it's
What do you
ridiculous.
think?
Well, I think you would like to have had him something other than a private.
Well, let
Chairman, remind the audience,
for the time being,
manifestations of approval or disapproval.
I don't mind leaving. Let's for the time being assume that what you say is right. If I wanted him as something other than a private, I was awfully unsuccessful, wasn't I? Isn't that right?
He was like, I
That
failed.
wasn't your fault, Senator.
Right. Very good.
No politics. Mr. Wells, you have a point of order?
I don't know what it is, but it's a point of something. I have
Good.
just,
Point of order, you may state it.
my point of order is that Mr. Jenkins yesterday was imposed upon, and so was the Secretary of the Army, by having a doctored or altered photograph produced in this courtroom as if it were honest.
It's kind of like during Trump's second impeachment when they introduced the tweets from January 6th, and they actually, I don't know if you guys know this, on the tweets from January 6th that they introduced at Trump's second impeachment, they edited the photo of one of the people in whose tweets they showed on the big screen to make her look, I think it was like to make her look more like like angry and stuff. And I know this because I fucking met her. I had dinner with her at CPAC like a month and a half after that, and she was telling me about how like she was really surprised to see one of her tweets pop up in the Trump impeachment hearing. And by the way, they went and found a photo of her that she had never used as her Twitter profile. Crazy.
A committee room and produced as if it were honest. I have the photograph that was offered yesterday in evidence, and in respect to which
On
Mr.
evidence.
Stevens was not only examined but cross-examined. And I show you now a photograph in respect to which I charge that what was offered in evidence yesterday was an altered, shamefully cut down picture so that somebody could say to Stevens, were you not photographed alone with David Shine, when the truth is he was photographed in a group. I would like now to offer
Who
the picture
cares?
that I have in my right hand as the original, undoctored, unaltered piece of evidence.
Mr. Chairman, the point of order is this, that Mr. Welch, under the guise of making a point of order, has testified that a picture is doctored. I now have before me, I may say yesterday was the first time I saw either of these pictures. The picture that was introduced yesterday, the one Mr. Welch puts in today, he makes a completely false statement. So this is a group picture. It is not.
The council advises the chair, may I say, that...
May I finish my point of order, Mr. Chairman?
Not a point of order, you can't. Council advises the chair that the senator is engaging in a statement of cross-examination rather than a point of order.
Mr. Chairman, I am getting rather sick of being interrupted in the middle of a sentence. If what I say...
I'd like to say that if...
Now, Mr. Chairman, do I have the floor or do I not?
The council says it's not a point of order.
Oh, be quiet. Mr. Chairman.
I wasn't the slightest mention of being a while.
Chairman, do I have the floor?
The chair has the floor. And
Oh my God.
whether or not Senator McCarthy is speaking to a point of order. Or
Mr. Chairman.
you state your point of order and then speak to it.
I want to find the full video
May
of
I
these hearings so
suggest-
bad.
I'm getting awfully sick of sitting down here at the end of the table and having whoever wants to interrupt in the middle of a sentence. Now, Mr. Welch made a statement. I raised a point of order that it was not a proper point of order. That it was not a proper point of order that he raised. And when Mr. Welch, under the guise of a point of order, said this was a group picture, I suggest that the chair make the record clear that Mr. Welch was not speaking the truth. That the only change in
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt the senator from Wisconsin. I agree with the senator from Wisconsin that Mr. Welch did not make a point of order. I further make the statement, the senator from Wisconsin is not making a point of order. I think that should be made perfectly clear to both Mr. Welch and Senator McCarthy. I'll ask you whether or not you told me that you had documentary evidence in the form of a photograph of Mr. Stevens and Mr. Shine corroborating your statement to me that Mr. Stevens requested his photograph be taken with Shine. Is that correct?
I told you, sir, that we had, that as far as I knew, there was a picture of Mr. Stevens and Private Shine taken on November 17th. There was and there is.
Was that original, the photograph introduced yesterday, delivered to me by you or a member of your staff prior to my cross-examination of the secretary?
May I describe this? Yes,
Was
sir.
anything ever said to me up to this time.
I definitely confuse this with like the House on Un-American Activities Committee hearing because I was upset about other things. But like, no, this is interesting. But like, so Deaf to Rights says McCarthy correctly pointed out that a junior lawyer belonged to the National Lawyers Guild, a communist front group. Thank you, Deaf to Rights. We'll have to find the House on Un-American Activities Committee hearing too. That'll be fun.
About any person being cut out of that photograph.
No, sir, I don't think anything was ever said to you about any person being cut out of that photograph. I now find on inquiry of a member of the staff that they saw some third person who was not recognizable and was not recognized standing to the side. That Mr. Stevens and Mr. Shine were facing each other and looking at each other. There was a third person standing to the side, and they thought that that person had no relevancy, had nothing to do with it, and that the picture wanted was the picture of Stevens and Shine.
It was my understanding that a picture of Shine and Secretary Stevens was to be delivered to you on Friday morning.
Did I say anything about cutting out of a picture any individual, Mr.?
No, sir.
You don't think the picture was changed?
No, sir.
Well, what's your definition of change?
If you will take Mr. Stevens and Mr. Shine in the large blown-up portion, I think you will find that they're the same as these two individuals.
There's nothing else different in the picture.
Sure, this individual here has been left off.
This is so
that's not a
stupid.
change.
I don't think there's any change in the two individuals, no.
Well, I don't think there's been any testimony by anyone in this proceedings that there was a change made of the photographic appearance of the Secretary of the Army and Mr. Shine. Has there been?
I couldn't answer that, sir.
Well, I mean, do you know if there's been any change? The two pictures are there in front of you.
I don't, I'm no photographer, but I don't think there's been a change.
Yes, I certainly have. Mr. Chairman, my point of order is this, that Mr. Jackson talked about a picture that had been changed, and after he had made the statement, he starts questioning the witness about his own statement. I think it's unfair to the witness. Oh, drop it.
Well, then the only thing to do was to bring in the photostat of the original picture with 3 people in the cast. Isn't that right?
I wasn't asked for it, and I didn't deliver that.
I think that's right. You were asked for something different from the thing that hung on Shine's wall.
I never knew what hung on Shine's wall.
You did know what hung on Shine's wall when that was handed to you, sir.
I did not know what hung on Shine's wall.
Did you think this came from a pixie? Where did you think this picture that I hold in my hand, which is Exhibit 3, came from?
I had no idea where it came from.
You couldn't get a question, it will be rewritten.
I have the last question rewritten.
It will be rewritten.
Hang on. I need to ask some people in the chat who are more familiar with this than I am. What the hell are they upset about? Like a picture? What is the big deal about this picture? Maybe I'm just not tracking because like I'm binding off something in my knitting. But like, what are they upset about? Like, is this really just a big to-do over like bullshit? Like, what am I missing? Yeah, I have no idea. Well, yeah, the Pixie delivered the photo, apparently. An alleged doctored photo of a location of 3 people, but it wasn't even... It kind of seems like it was just cut off. Apparently, the photo was cut off to make it look like someone was meeting another privately when it was a group thing. Oh, they're saying it was a photo of 2 people conspiring? Okay, so basically this is nonsense, is what this is. It's nonsense. They're like, these 2 people were in a photo together, therefore they were colluding so that Private Shine could go get a shoe shine. Oh my word, clutch your pearls. What the hell?
Saying, did you think it came from... I didn't get the rest of the
Question. Did you think this came from a pixie?
Counsel, counsel for my benefit, define, I think he might be an expert on that.
Yeah.
How they fix it.
Yes, I should say, Mr. Senator, that
What is a
pixie is a close relative of a fairy.
Oh my God. Seriously?
Shall I proceed, sir? Have I enlightened you?
As I said, I think you might be the authority on a pixie is.
Counsel may proceed. Though I sit at the same table, I am not your counsel.
There is not a statement that's been made at this hearing with which I'm in more complete agreement, Mr. Welch, although I say I'm sure you're a lawyer of great ability, and maybe I would be fortunate if I had you as my counsel. I have no counsel here. Roy Cohn is here speaking for Roy Cohn to give the facts.
Roy Cohn was an uppity little
and I
bitch.
feel the need of none, sir.
I'm sorry, he was.
Sir, I am content.
Also a
That it should
homosexual.
appear from my end that I am not your counsel.
I might say you're certainly not going to get any fee from me, Mr. Welch.
Mr. Cohn, you have spoken of that picture as representing Mr. Stevens smiling at Shine. Do you look at it now with me?
How is this colluding?
Why don't we have a quote right up here?
That's good enough.
Let's even have it closer, Mr.
Well, let's have it there. That's good enough.
Mr. Welch, may I confess to a slight case of nearsightedness here, and I hope that's not nearsightedness in connection with my duties, but it is when it comes to these things. I'd like to have that right up here.
I think you have betrayed some nearsightedness. Have it as close as you would like.
Very good. Mr. Welch, I might say here again, I'll be very glad to answer your questions here. I don't think I'm quite as clever as you are, and I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to answer your quips.
Oh, Mr. Cohn. My question now is this. You have referred to that picture as showing Mr. Secretary Stevens smiling at Dave Shine. Are you now close enough to the picture so that you would like to qualify that statement?
Sir, I will accept your characterization of the picture.
It's a grim smile on Stevens' face.
I accept it. If you want to call Mr. Stevens' smile a grim smile, sir, I fully
No,
accept what
illustration
you say.
station. I
To
don't
me,
think we
it
ever
is a
were.
picture
I
of
think it was always
Secretary
bullshit.
Stevens. If it's a grim
We were
smile,
always run by
albeit
idiots.
It's a picture of Private
This is
Shine. They're
proof.
standing next to each other. They are facing each other. Their eyes are meeting. They are looking at
Oh
each other.
my
And
God.
if the smile is grim or it isn't grim, I know not.
Not too fast, Mr. Cohn. Not too fast. Mr. Stevens is looking to his right, isn't he?
Oh my God, what the fuck is going
Well,
on?
sir,
Isn't he just looking? You can answer that one easily.
Well, Mr. Welch, do you want to imply that I'm not answering it? You ask me a question and then you say with the implication as though I can answer it.
Well, answer it. Is Mr. Stevens is looking to his right, isn't he?
Sir, if you give me the chance, I'll try and answer it.
By all means, sir.
Thank you. The picture to me looks as though Mr. Stevens and Private Shine are looking at each other.
My question was a simple one. Mr. Stevens is looking to his right, is he not?
Yes, I would say he probably is looking to his right, and Private Shine is standing at his right.
And on Mr. Stevens' right are two figures. Is that correct?
I like the accent. I would do
Yes,
it.
that's correct.
I have
Mr.
my own
Stevens'
unique
right, there are
accent,
two
though.
figures.
And one is Private Shine.
Yes, sir.
And further to Mr. Stevens' right is Colonel Bradley.
Standing sideways.
It would take someone with clairvoyance to know to whom Secretary Stevens is looking, would it not?
Yes.
No, sir, I don't think so. It would take somebody with common sense who can look at a picture and see what's in it.
I think I observe on Colonel Bradley's face a faint little look of pleasure. Do you,
Wait.
sir?
I would say that Colonel...
Are they implying that someone else was in the room? I like this. He had a faint look of pleasure on his face.
I know that Colonel Bradley had a good steak dinner shortly after this. Maybe he was anticipating it. I do know that Colonel Bradley looks to me as though he, too, is looking at Private Shine.
Well, now, if Bradley is feeling good about a steak dinner, Shine must be considering a whole haunch of beef, is he not?
Roy Cohn may have also been considering a whole haunch of beef. We don't know. Roy Cohn just had, like, visions.
Mr. Chairman.
Your point of order?
Yes, it's a point of order. How long must we put up with this circus?
That's a great
If
question,
counsel is trying to elicit information, good.
Senator.
If he's looking for a laugh from the audience, he wants to talk about any physical defect of my chief counsel. It's so indecent, so dishonest. I am not talking about any physical defect which Counsel Welch may have. I do not intend to. Let's get down to the issues, Mr. Welch. Each minute, Mr. Chairman, may I point out, each minute we waste here is wasting a vast amount of manpower, very important manpower, I think, the manpower of 8 senators and the heads of our military establishment.
In these proceedings, to the best of my knowledge, for the first time in our history, our people have been urged to entertain serious doubts as to the dedication and loyalty of our armed forces from top to bottom.
This is a letter signed Dwight D. Eisenhower, addressed to the Honorable, the Secretary of Defense, Washington, D.C. Dear Mr. Secretary, it is essential to the successful working of our system that the persons entrusted with power in any one of the 3 great branches of government shall not encroach upon the authority confided to the others. The ultimate responsibility for the conduct of the executive branch rests with the President. However, throughout our history, the President has withheld information whenever he found that what was sought was confidential or its disclosure would be incompatible with the public interest or jeopardize the safety of the nation. Because it is essential to efficient and effective administration that employees of the executive branch be in a position to be completely candid in advising with each other on official matters, and because it is not in the public interest that any of their conversations or communications or any documents or reproductions concerning such advice be disclosed, you will instruct employees of your department that in all of their appearances before the subcommittee of the Senate Committee on Government Operations regarding the inquiry now before it, they are not to testify to any such conversations or communications or to produce any such documents or reproductions. I direct this action so as to maintain the proper separation of powers between the executive and legislative branches of the government in accordance with my responsibilities and duties under the Constitution. This separation is vital to preclude the exercise of arbitrary power by any branch of the government. Sincerely, Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Thank you. And the chair will recognize Senator McCarthy or Mr. Cohen.
Mr. Chairman, I must admit that I'm somewhat at a loss as to know what to do at this moment. One of the subjects of this inquiry is to find out who is responsible for succeeding in calling off the hearing of communist infiltration in government. At this point, I find out there's no way of ever getting at the truth. The Iron Curtain is pulled down, so we can't tell what happened. There's no reason why anyone should be afraid of the facts. The question is how far can, I'm not talking about the present occupant in the White House. We've got a tremendously important question here, Mr. Chairman. That is, how far can the president go? Who all can he order not to testify? Then any president. We don't know who will be president 1956, 1960, 1964, any president.
So Eisenhower intervened and was like, you can't hear from these people.
I won't repeat that. Any president can, by an executive order, keep the facts from the American people. And as I say, I don't believe that this is the result of President Eisenhower's own personal thinking. I am sure if he knew what this was all about, that he would not sign an order saying that you can't tell the Senate committee what went on when they cooked up those charges against Mr. Cohen, Mr. Carr, and myself. Someone, for his own benefit,
should contact the president immediately and point out to him, perhaps, that he and I and many of us campaigned and promised the American people we would no longer engage in government
Oh,
by
that's right.
secrecy, whitewash, and cover up. And I think that these
Thank you,
facts should be
Sen.
brought to the president, because the American people will not stand for this. Let's go through, let's lay all the facts upon the table. And we can't lay the facts upon the table if we're going to draw an iron curtain. And we're halfway through the hearing. So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask for a executive session, a meeting in the committee, so I will know to what extent the committee is going to honor this order or any other order like it. May I say, Mr. Chairman, I feel that the Senate must determine that we're entitled to all of this information. And what Mr. Jenkins says here as counsel, what you say as chairman, can be quoted as precedent in the future when we decide just how far the president can go in a secrecy order. May I say that I think if the witness asserts a type of Fifth Amendment privilege here,
I'm not asserting Fifth Amendment privilege,
some
Senator.
presidential privilege, I think the chair should allow him to do it rather than to get into this question which will take us months to decide.
May the chair
Ultimately, may I finish, Mr. Chairman? I think this is infinitely more important than anything we bring out at this hearing. It's the question of just what a president can do. Now, I disagreed, as the chair knows, with the Truman Blackout Order of 1948. I think that Eisenhower has been badly advised. I think there's only one person can claim a privilege, whether it's a Fifth Amendment privilege, whether it's a presidential privilege, or any other.
Chairman, just a moment, sir.
May I finish?
I don't like the senator from Wisconsin inferring that I'm claiming the Fifth Amendment privilege, because I'm not, and I'm not claiming any privilege on this memorandum. This is an instruction from the President of the United States, and I consider myself bound by it, sir.
Mr. Chairman, may I say that I think it's very important that we follow the time-worn rule of law that no one can exert a privilege except the witness. I don't care whether it's a Fifth Amendment privilege, whether it's this new privilege.
So they're
we have
arguing that the
today or what
president
it is.
can't do this, essentially?
Mr. Stevens, I am getting awfully weary of this attempt to get a few simple facts from you, so we're pulling teeth. We've spent just a vast amount of time here trying to get answers to some simple question. The question is this. You made a statement this morning under oath. You say, I wish to make it perfectly plain that the decisions and the acts on the part of the Army concerning the controversy presently being heard by the Senate subcommittee were the decisions and the acts of the Department of the Army alone. Now, do you still stand by that statement?
I do.
Do you say that John Adams was not telling the truth when he said that the decision was made in the Justice Department with White House aides present, with the Attorney General present, the Deputy Attorney General present, the Ambassador to the UN present? I'm sure that any man who can add 2 and 2, Mr. Secretary, will agree that that completely contradicts your statement that all decisions were the decisions of the Department of the Army alone. I wonder if you want your sworn testimony this morning to stand as it is or not.
I want it to stand.
Now, Mr. Secretary, here's the testimony of Mr. Browder, and I take this from a report dated, it's dated, let's see, just a minute.
Does this mean I'm a communist, Senator?
Probably.
That's awfully funny, isn't it, Mr. Secretary? That's terribly funny.
Everyone's a communist now.
I made it very clear to you at all times that I felt that you were
I've become one of those
anti-communist.
people.
I've also made it very clear to you that I thought that you were very naively and unintelligently anti-communist. You know that, Mr. Secretary.
I'm a little confused here. This is a copy of a letter that's being introduced. I'd like to know how it arrived here at the committee, where it came from. How did it get here?
It was handed to me just now by Senator McCarthy.
Purports to be a letter written October 26, 1951 by the Federal Bureau of Investigation and signed by J. Edgar Hoover, the director.
Oh, good.
It is addressed to Major General Bowling, Assistant Chief of Staff
G2, Department of the Army, Washington, D.C.
I understand, but it could be readily identified whether this was a matter that was subpoenaed from the Army files or whether the Army voluntarily gave it.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Welch?
I respectfully suggest that that be done. I am a lawyer, and the appearance of what purports to be a copy of a letter from J. Edgar Hoover in 1951 addressed to some colonel, is that right, sir?
Major General.
Hang on. Mark, we actually watched Yuri Brezmenov actually relatively recently in Socialism Saturday. I definitely recommend you go back and watch the stream. We watched actually 2 Yuri Brezmenov. We watched the interview and then we watched a lecture he did, and the lecture was actually better than the interview. So I definitely recommend, if you guys if you haven't been introduced to Socialism Saturday or you missed that episode of Socialism Saturday, definitely search for it on the channel because it was a really good episode.
Major General, the mere fact that we have an impressive-looking purported copy of such a letter doesn't impress an old-time lawyer. I would like to have Mr. J. Edgar Hoover say that he wrote the letter and mailed it. Then we'd know what we were dealing with.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator McCarthy?
the original, I want to question the secretaries whether or not the original of this and other letters like it are in his file. I want to make it very clear that I have gotten neither this letter nor anything else from the FBI.
Where did it come from then? Mr. Chairman, I assure you this purported copy did not come from the Army files, nor does the Senator for a moment suggest it did.
Just a minute. Mr. Chairman, if Mr. Welch is going to say there's not a copy of this in the Army files, he should be sworn because that statement is untrue as far as I know.
I did not say that, Senator. I said that this purported copy did not come from the Army files, and you know I'm quite right, sir. And I have an absorbing curiosity to know how in the dickens you got hold of it.
I'll wager you. I will wait. May I say, Mr. Chair?
The chair has the floor.
May I say, Mr.
The
Chair?
chair has the floor.
May I say, Mr.
The chair has the floor. I'll have to advise you again, Mr. Welch, that all investigative agencies in this town operate on the rule that they don't have to disclose the sources of their information. Your absorbing curiosity will have to be satisfied some other way, I'm afraid.
And by Mr. J. Edgar Hoover.
Can I question? I'd like to question Mr. Stevens. Mr. Stevens, would you look at that letter? Then tell us, number one, whether or not you've ever seen it, ever notified of its content.
I'd like to,
I think you should read the letter.
I'd like to have the advice of counsel, if I may, as to whether or not I'm at liberty to discuss a letter from Mr. J. Edgar Hoover.
You're at liberty to read it.
Because I think it's very bad without Mr. Hoover's knowing about it.
Would you like to read it first?
Well, I'd say someone's going to notify him.
Chairman, I have the letter in my hand. It is headed personal and confidential via liaison, which seems to me to be rather severe words of a confidential nature. I think Mr. Stevens is quite right in saying that this is a matter that ought to be released by J. Edgar Hoover before we deal with it in this room.
Mr. Hoover has examined the document and has advised me that he never wrote any such letter.
A mystery letter
And
from
because
J. Edgar
the
Hoover.
document constitutes an unauthorized use of information which is classified as confidential, it is my opinion that it should not be made
How could it
public.
be classified as
Sincerely yours,
confidential if J. Edgar Hoover
Herbert
didn't
Brownell,
write it?
Jr., Attorney General.
Now, Mr. Collier, as I understand your testimony, this document that I hold in my hand is a carbon copy of precisely nothing. Is that right?
I will say that Mr. Hoover informed me that it is not a carbon copy of a memorandum prepared or sent by the FBI.
Let's have it straight from the shoulder. So far as you know, it's a carbon copy of precisely nothing.
So far as I know, it is, yes, but that, again, is a...
And so far as you know, this document in this courtroom sprung yesterday by Senator McCarthy is a perfect phony. Is that right?
No, sir, that is your conclusion. I will not draw such a conclusion.
You've just told us that it's...
Chairman.
McCarthy, have a point of order?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think that the chair should insist upon certain rules of honesty on the part of counsel for Mr. Stevens, Mr. Adams. Mr. Chairman, this has been referred to as a phony by Mr. Welch. That's one of the most serious reflections upon the integrity of the chairman that we've had so far, and I've had many reflections upon my integrity.
Mr. Chairman,
Chair has not read the letter. Mr. Welch has not read the letter, so I suppose we'll labor under some difficulty.
we do. I have higher standards as to my own conduct in respect to these documents than the senator and his staff have. I do not think it is proper for Mr. Collier to read it, and he has declined to read it. I do not think it would be proper for Welch to read it, and he has declined to read it. And I await with much interest the senator's explanation of how it reached his hands and when he read it.
Excellent.
Now, Senator McCarthy, you are bound to be aware of the fact that some attack has been made upon that letter.
Let me make it very clear, Mr. Jenkins and Mr. Chairman, that I will not under any circumstances reveal the source of any information which I get as chairman of the committee.
Don't tell him, Joe.
One of the reasons why I have been successful, I believe, to some extent, in exposing
Yes, apparently it was a
is
sternly written
because
letter.
the people who give me information
Apparently
within the
so.
government know that their confidence will not be violated. There is no way on earth that any committee, any force, can get me to violate the confidence of those people.
Then, Senator, you did not get the 2.25-page document from the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
I did not, sir.
Now, I'm not going to ask you, and I did not intend to ask you, the name of the individual who gave you that document. But as I do understand it, Senator McCarthy, and we are trying to pursue this question to its logical end so that the committee may know all of the facts, that 2.25-page document was delivered to you by someone from the Army.
Yes, I can go a step further, Mr. Jenkins.
And perhaps in the Intelligence Department, can you go that far?
An officer in the Intelligence Department.
Senator McCarthy, when you took the stand, you of course understood you were going to be asked about this letter, did you not?
I assume that would be the subject.
And you of course understood you were going to be asked the source from which you got it.
I never try to...
Did you understand you would be asked the source?
I'll answer that. I never try to read the minds of the senators, know what they will ask me.
Could I have the oath that you took read to us slowly by the reporter?
Mr. Welch, that doesn't seem to be an appropriate question. You were present. You took the oath yourself. You took the same oath you took.
The oath included a promise, a solemn promise by you to tell the truth, comma, the whole truth, comma, and nothing but the truth. Is that correct, sir?
Mr. Welch, you are not the first individual who tried to get me to betray the confidence and give out the names of my informants. You will be no more successful than those who have tried in the past. Period.
I am only asking you, sir, did you realize when you took that oath that you were making a solemn promise to tell the whole truth to this committee?
I understand the oath, Mr. Welch.
And when you took it, did you
The
have
antics have
some
never
mental
changed.
reservation,
It's true.
some Fifth or Sixth Amendment notion that you could measure what you would tell?
I don't take the Fifth or Sixth Amendment.
Have you some private reservation when you take the oath that you will tell the whole truth that lets you be the judge of what you will testify to?
The answer is there's no reservation about telling the whole truth.
Thank you, sir. Then tell us who delivered the document to you.
No.
The answer is no. You will not get that information.
Told you.
You wish then to put your own interpretation on your oath and tell us less than the whole truth?
Mr. Welch, I think I've made it very clear to you that neither you nor anyone else
Don't give up a
will ever
source.
get me to violate the confidence of loyal people in this government who give me information about communist infiltration. I repeat, you will not get their names. You will not get any information which will allow you to identify them so that you or anyone else can get their job. You can go right ahead and try until doomsday.
According to testimony
tell him,
presented
Joe.
to the committee yesterday, the officer informant who gave this obviously fraudulent letter was guilty of sending secret information to somebody not authorized to receive it, and in so doing, disobeyed the orders of his superiors. In view of the testimony, Mr. Chairman, I do hope that every effort will be made to find out who was the informant. But at least as important should be knowledge on the part of the 8 government agencies who sit on the Intelligence Advisory Committee that they may now have in their midst someone who is willing, for whatever reason he considers proper, to distribute secret information to unauthorized people. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I mean, he's a sitting senator. He's not like, you know, we're not talking about Joe Schmo off the street here.
Is committing a theft or violating the law, then I doubt that anyone's authorized to receive it.
May I make it very clear at the beginning that as far as I am concerned, the Truman Directive, no directive, will preclude me from examining material bearing upon the security of this nation. The senators must, if they are to perform their duty, must see the sequence of letters from the FBI in which they point out day after day after day what a dangerous situation you have in our top secret radar laboratory. Why the tremendous efforts have been made to call this committee off the investigation, the disclosure of communists in government.
The chair is in no position to override the ruling of the Attorney General. He submitted it in writing, got an answer back in writing, and suggests, therefore, that the senator continue with his interrogatories
Mr. Chairman.
in conformity with the Attorney General's opinion.
Mr. Chairman, does the chair take the position that a committee of the Senate cannot differ with an appointive officer, the Attorney General? Certainly the chair doesn't take that position. Mr. Chairman, if the Attorney General has some good reason why these documents should not be made available to the committee.
You should.
He should not be bashful about coming down in executive session and telling us why, Mr. Chairman.
May I say to you, I'm trying to settle a basic issue of law. I don't want any of your confidential information. All I want is let the country get this legal question so we can all operate within the law, if that's possible. I say as for myself, you say what you'll do and what you'll not do. I tell you, Senator, that I will not set myself up above and apart from the law. I'm going to conform to it. Now, you do as you please.
Senator, yield for a minute. Chairman. May I say, Senator, just for your benefit, I am not setting myself above any law. But, Senator, I just will not abide by any secrecy directive of anyone. I think you and I have and will see presidents come and go.
Senator,
we have a duty. In closing, we have a duty. We have a duty to do our job, even though we may differ with a perfectly honest version of what the president thinks his job is.
Well, now, we may differ about that, and that's what I think the American people are entitled to have settled. Whether you're right or the president's right. That's what I'm trying to find out. When you say I'm trying to put you in jail, I'm asking no such thing. I don't care if you're staying out. No one's afraid of you out any more than would be in, as far as I know. But the point I'm making is, Joe, and you know it, you've reached the crossroads in this thing. And we're entitled, in the course of these hearings now, to have this thing settled if there's any way to settle it. That's all I have. Keep all your information in your head or somewhere else, as far as I'm concerned. I want you to understand that, sir. As far as I'm concerned, I want to settle a basic issue here that is vital, I think, to the security of this nation.
Senator McCarthy, do you think that President Eisenhower could put any classification on the secret document which would prevent you from being a person authorized to receive and examine?
No.
Now, your question was, does Mr. Eisenhower have what?
President Eisenhower, sir.
President Eisenhower have what?
Do you think that President Eisenhower could put any classification on the secret document which could prevent you from being a person authorized to receive?
No, he's a sitting senator.
The answer is yes or no.
My recollection was that in this now famous 2¼ page document, there were about 35 names listed
This is pretty serious. Have we had anything as serious as this so far? Well, yes, I think we've got something much more serious right now. Right this
I'm
moment.
talking about up to prior to this hearing.
May I answer that question, Mr. Chairman? I think we've got a much more serious situation now in communist infiltration of the CIA. Disturbs me beyond words.
Well, we haven't. The members of the committee have not been advised, and I do think that.
Oh, yes, they have.
Have we the names and of the people?
I discussed this matter with the members of the committee. I also discussed with the members of the committee the question of communist infiltration of atomic and hydrogen bomb plants. I felt that was, I think, even more important than this infiltration at.
Just let me finish and do this one point. May I have from the files all the memos and meetings and minutes with reference to this matter, so that we on the committee can be fully informed.
You certainly may, Senator. Certainly may.
Well, may I ask the distinguished chairman, have we yet received the names, and I assume they're in the file, of the claimed 133 communists that are ready for investigation? I've asked for it. Have I yet received it?
You would know better than I, Senator.
I would know better than
the information is available to you.
But I'd like to know something in advance. I'd like to have at least a little advance information.
Senator McClellan, may I say that you know that I have been tied up here day and night with this investigation. I frankly don't have the time now, and that's one of the reasons why I object to this show continuing on the road. As soon as we get through with this, I'm sure the Senator Martin.
Hang on, we gotta pause for a super chat. Jenny's getting inky with it. Says sounds like whistleblower deep state stuff. It does sound like that, doesn't it, Jenny? This is crazy. I had no idea. I truly didn't know that, like, Joseph McCarthy was like the Trump of his era. I really had no idea. Now, that's not to say that people weren't wrongfully accused and all that, but it does seem a little fishy to me. Guys, see this sleeve I just made? It's a little, I gotta work it out. I gotta. Oh no, did I screw up? Oh no, I may have screwed it up. Oh no. I hope I didn't screw it up. Well, I'm gonna have to futz with it a little bit, but check this out. This is a sleeve. And it's cool because it kind of stands up. It's a little like, I don't know. I think it looks cool. Anyway, it's like double-sided. Anyway, that's what I've been working on in case anyone was curious.
Arkansas knows that I have been always completely frank with him. He can have every piece of information we have. It so happens, as you know, I've got a lot of respect for the Senator from Arkansas. I hope that.
Well, thank you.
I hope that will hurt you in your campaign.
I think you know I never want anything but what's fair. And that's all I'm asking now.
You will have every piece of information, John.
There it is.
I'll be very glad to get what I've requested at your convenience.
Hang on. I'm going to show you guys the sleeve now that I have it on. Kind of. This isn't, like, done yet or anything, but, like, see? It's a shawl-y type sleeve. A little pink cuff. And it has a shawl that comes on over it. It's cool.
Mr. Cone, what is the exact number of communists
there you go.
or subversives that are loose today in these defense plans?
The exact number that is loose, sir?
Yes, sir.
I don't know.
Roughly how many?
I can only tell you, sir, what we know about.
Well, that's 130, is that right?
Yes, sir. I'm going to try to particularize for you if I can.
I'm in a hurry. I don't want the sun to go down while they're still in there if we can get them out.
I'm afraid we won't be able to work that way.
Well, I've got a suggestion about it, sir. How many are there?
I believe the figure is approximately 130.
Approximately 130.
Yes, sir. Those are people, Mr. Welch.
I don't care. You've told us who they are. And how many plants are they?
How many plants?
How many plants?
Yes, sir. Just 1 minute. I see 16 offhand.
16 plants. Are you alarmed at that situation, Mr. Cole?
I think I can manage that, Brooklyn. We'll pick out a pattern.
Could it?
Certainly a very alarming thing.
Will you not, before the sun goes down, give those names to the FBI and at least have those men put under surveillance?
Sir, if there is need for surveillance in case of espionage or anything like that, I can well assure you that Mr.
John Edgar Hoover and his men know a lot better than I, and I might respectfully suggest, sir, than probably a lot of us, just who should be put under surveillance. I do not propose to tell the FBI how to run its shop.
And they do
Very
it.
well.
And they do it, don't they, Mr. Cohen?
When the need arises, of course.
Then they've got the whole 130, have they, Mr. Cohen?
I am sure of it, sir, and a lot
Well,
more.
then what's all the excitement about if J. Edgar Hoover is on the job chasing these 130 communists?
Mr. Welch, all the excitement of...
Well, then as a second line of defense, let's send the 130 names to the Department of Defense tonight. Would you mind doing that?
Whatever the committee directs on that, sir.
I wish the committee would direct that all the names be sent both to the FBI and to the Department of Defense with extreme suddenness.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
In view of that request, not exactly, Mr. Chairman, but in view of Mr. Welch's request that the information be given once we know of anyone who might be performing any work for the Communist Party, I think we should tell him that he has in his law firm a young man named Fisher, whom he recommended incidentally to do the work in this committee, who has been for a number of years a member of an organization which was named, years and years ago, as the legal bulwark of the Communist Party, an organization which always springs to the defense of anyone who dares to expose communists. I certainly assume that Mr. Welch did not know of this young man at the time he recommended him as the assistant counsel for this committee, but he has such terror and such a great desire to know where anyone is located who may be serving the communist cause, Mr. Welch, that I thought we should just call to your attention the fact that you're Mr. Fisher, who is still in your law firm today, whom you asked to have down here looking over the secret and classified material, is a member of an organization not named by me, but named by various committees, named by the Attorney General, as I recall, who belonged to it long after it had been exposed as the legal arm of the Communist Party. Knowing that, Mr. Welch, I just felt that I had a duty to respond to your urgent request that before sundown, when we know of anyone serving the communist cause, we let the agency know. We're now letting you know that your man did belong to this organization for either 3 or 4 years, belonged to it long after he was out of law school. Now, I have hesitated bringing that up, but I have been rather bored with your phony request to Mr. Cohen here that he personally get every communist out of government before sundown. Therefore, we will give you the information about the young man in your own organization. I'm not asking you at this time to explain why you tried to foist him on this committee. That you did, the committee know. Whether you knew that he was a member of that communist organization or not, I don't know. I assume you did not, Mr. Welch, because I get the impression that while you are quite an actor, you play for a laugh. I don't think you have any conception of the danger of the Communist Party. I don't think you yourself would ever knowingly aid the communist cause. I think you are unknowingly aiding it when you try to burlesque this hearing in which we are attempting to bring out the facts.
Mr. Chairman, well, the church would say that he has no recognition, no memory of Mr. Welch recommending either Mr. Fisher or anybody else as counsel for this committee.
Mr. Chairman, I will put in the record then, Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman.
the news story on that.
Under these circumstances, I must myself have something approaching a personal privilege. Senator McCarthy, I did not know, Senator, sometimes you say, may I have your attention? May I have your attention? Now, this time, sir, I want you to listen with both. Senator McCarthy, I think until this moment.
Just listen, let me ask, Jim, when you get the news story, the effect this man belongs to this Communist Front organization.
I will tell you that he belongs to it.
Will you get the citations, order the citations showing that this was the legal arm of the Communist Party and the length of time that he belonged, the fact that he was recommended from Mr. Welch? I think that should be in the record.
Senator, you won't need anything in the record when I finish telling you this. Until this moment, Senator, I think I never really gauged your cruelty or your recklessness. Fred Fisher is a young man who went to the Harvard Law School and came into my firm and is starting what looks to be a brilliant career with us. When I decided to work for this committee, I asked Jim St. Clair, who sits on my right, to be my first assistant. I said to Jim, pick somebody in the firm to work under you that you would like. He chose Fred Fisher, and they came down on an afternoon plane. That night, when we had taken a little stab at trying to see what the case is about, Fred Fisher and Jim St. Clair and I went to dinner together. I then said to these two young men, boys, I don't know anything about you except I've always liked you. But if there's anything funny in the life of either one of you that would hurt anybody in this case, you speak up quick. And Fred Fisher said, Mr. Welch, when I was in the law school, and for a period of months after, I belonged to the Lawyers Guild, as you have suggested, Senator. He went on to say, I am secretary of the Young Republicans League in Newton, with the son of Massachusetts governor. And I have the respect and admiration of my community, and I'm sure I have the respect and admiration of the 25 lawyers or so in Halen.
Hang on. Yes, I do, Charity Ann. People can make jokes about whatever they want. There are 2 rules in the chat. Number 1, don't be a dick. Don't insult me. Don't insult other people in the chat. Number 2, no whining. Other than that, this is a free speech zone. You can say whatever you want. Don't be a dick. No whining. Those are the only rules. Scrotum jokes are indeed allowed.
No. And I said, Fred, I just don't think I'm going to ask you to work on the case. If I do, one of these days, that will come out and go over national television, and it will just hurt like the dickens. And so, Senator, I asked him to go back to Boston. Little did I dream you could be so reckless and so cruel as to do an injury to that lad. It is true he is still with Halen Dorr. It is true that he will continue to be with Halen Dorr. It is, I regret to say, equally true that I fear he shall always bear a scar needlessly inflicted by you. If it were in my power to forgive you for your reckless cruelty, I would do so. I like to think I'm a gentleman. But your forgiveness will have to come from someone other than me.
Mr. Chairman. May I say that Mr. Welch talks about this being cruel and reckless. He was just baiting, he has been baiting Mr. Cohen here for hours, requesting that Mr. Cohen, before sundown, get out of any department of the government anyone who is serving the communist cause. Now, I just give this man's record, and I want to say, Mr. Welch, that it has been labeled long before he became a member, as early as 1944.
Senator, may we not drop this? We know he belongs to the Lawyers Guild. And Mr. Cole nods his head at me. I did you, I think, no personal injury, Mr. Cole.
No, sir.
I meant to do you no personal injury. And if I did, I beg your pardon. Let us not assassinate this lad further, Senator. You've done enough. Have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you left no sense of decency?
I know this hurts you, Mr. Welch.
I'll
but
say it
may
hurts.
I say, Mr. Chairman, as a point of personal privilege, I'd like to finish this.
Senator, I think it hurts you too, sir.
I'd like to finish this. I know Mr. Cohen would rather not have me go into this. I intend to, however, and Mr. Welch talks about any sense of decency.
Exactly. This is like when we were watching one of the January. No, what it was the technology hearing. It was like the big tech. It was the big tech people. They're like, why are we even here? I don't even know why we're here right now. Why are you wasting these people's time? Why are you dragging? It's exactly the same effing tactics. Have you no sense of decency, sir? Yeah, I didn't mean to personally injure you by calling you reckless and unforgivable by me.
Decency? It seems that Mr. Welch is pained so deeply, he thinks it's improper for me to give the record, the Communist Front record, of the man whom he wanted to foist upon this committee. But it doesn't pain him at all. There's no pain in his chest about the attempt to destroy the reputation and take the jobs away from the young men who are working in my committee. And Mr. Welch, if I have said anything here which is untrue, then tell me. I have heard you and everyone else talk so much about laying the truth upon the table that when I heard it's completely phony, Mr. Welch, I've listened to you now for a long time, to saying now before sundown, you must get these people out of government. So that I just want to have it very clear that you were not so serious about that when you tried to recommend this man for this committee. But the point is, Mr.
Chair, I'd like to say again that he does not believe Mr. Welch recommended Mr. Fisher as counsel for this committee because he had, through his office, all the recommendations which were made and does not recall any of them coming from Mr. Welch, and that would include Mr. Fisher.
Well, let me ask Mr. Welch. You brought him down, did you not, to act as your assistant?
Mr. McCarthy, I will not discuss this further with you. You have sat within 6 feet of me and could have asked me about Fred Fisher. You have seen fit to bring it out, and if there is a God in heaven, it will do neither you nor your cause any good. I will not discuss it further. I will not ask Mr. Cohen any more witnesses. You, Mr. Chairman, may, if you will, call the next witness.
Isn't it interesting that the only thing that we ever hear coming out of these hearings is have you no sense of decency, sir? But it's like you never see all the bullshit leading up to it. You never understand the context of why McCarthy is asking what he is. And now this is like watching MSNBC. This is like Chris Hayes on MSNBC. Yeah. Oh God, if we had gotten a Reclaiming My Time in there. Oh my God. No, this is like this guy right now, what he is Anderson Cooper after the CNN Trump town hall, where Anderson Cooper was like, Have you no sense of decency, Trump? Calling Caitlin Collins a nasty woman?
Something that neither Secretary Stevens nor I have much to do with. The charge by the junior senator from Wisconsin that we've had another year of treason under President Eisenhower. The charge that the CIA is infiltrated, infested with communists. The charge that the Department of Defense is full of communists. The charge that the Department of Justice, that the Attorney General of the Department of Justice, there's something phony about him. And the charge that the hydrogen bomb plants and the atomic bomb plants are full of communists. Well, where do we go from here as the American people? It would appear some of us want to end up in this country with just plain anarchy.
Will he, Symington,
I'm okay with anarchy.
be willing to go under oath?
I'd be fine with that.
Same as the rest of us are going under oath.
Can we do
Same as
anarchy?
I have gone under oath and will go under oath. Same as Republicans have gone under oath. And tell us the truth of what part he had to play with this.
If he will merely consent to go on the stand and tell us why and how it happened that, number one, he got the political advisor of the Democrat Party to guide undercover the Republican Secretary of the Army, and number two, while our friend Sanctimonious Stew was advising
the I resent that.
He called him. McCarthy just called him sanctimonious stew. You can't tell me Trump didn't watch this. Trump absolutely watched this. Come on. He gave him a nickname. That is a Trump nickname.
Because I want no psychological bribes from you. Nobody in the Senate knows more about how to avoid testifying than the junior senator from Wisconsin. And everybody in the United States knows that that fact is true. Different times when they wanted to put you under oath and you didn't want to go.
Mr. Symington has said that no one knows better than the senator from Wisconsin how to avoid testifying. I have now at this time made the offer to go on the stand and let him question me about everything. I don't care how irrelevant it is.
Mr. Chairman, I have decided to testify under oath before this committee. I believe that I will have performed a public service of overwhelming importance. If any action of mine can induce you to answer under oath, the allegation
overwhelming importance might be a little bit much.
Subcommittee, and to which you have heretofore persistently refused to respond, except to denounce the subcommittee. Accordingly, I propose that we agree on the following points. 1, you will agree to an investigation by a committee of the Senate. I will agree to take the stand in the present proceeding and to testify as to the events preceding the institution of these hearings. I trust that you will confirm your agreement with this program. If you are in accord, please sign as indicated below. Senator, here's the letter, and if you will sign it, then we can get this matter settled. Senator concluded?
Mr. Symington, I think, I'm glad we're on television. I think the millions of people can see how low that a man can sink. I repeat, they can see how low an alleged man can sink. He's been asked here to come before the committee and give the information which he has in regard to this investigation. He retorts by saying that he wants all of the old smears investigated. Now, may I say this, Mr. Chairman? If that is necessary in order to get Symington on the stand, that will be done. If the Vice President...
Sign the letter,
I will not
Senator.
sign the letter with false
Sign the
statements in
letter.
it.
Very simple. In the record.
Mr.
All you have to do is sign it.
No, don't.
Just sign it. Just do it. Just bend the knee.
There it is,
Just
Senator.
sign it.
Got my signature on it.
You have a document with
false statements in it. I will not sign the agree that's true. Now don't, you're not fooling anyone. You're not fooling anyone, Mr. Symington. You're not fooling anyone. I have offered to go before any committee, do anything you ask. If I can just get you to come down here and take the oath so we can get the answers to some questions. Now, you're not fooling anyone at all.
Senator,
I'm sure of that.
Senator, let me tell you something. The chair believes that the American people have had a look at you for 6 weeks. You're not fooling anyone either.
MSNBC moment.
Could I ask you to prepare a list for me, Mr. Carr, showing persons of all categories who have free access to committee files and the approximate number involved in each category?
I could do that for you right now if you want to take the time.
All right, fine.
The committee members have access to the file, free access to the files. I, as staff director, have free access to the file.
Who's that?
I do myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Cohen does. Mr. Kennedy does. The rest of the legal counsel and the investigators do. And my secretary, or Mr. Cohen's secretary, would have access to the files if they went down there for me. The access would be through the file clerk. However, I don't preclude the possibility that if the file clerk wasn't there, they could physically find the file.
And it really wouldn't make any difference whether one had top secret and all the rest had secret, or one had secret and all the rest had top secret, if they all had access to the files. Isn't that right?
I would say that it wouldn't make a great deal of difference whether it was secret or top secret or not.
It would be unfortunate if we had a subversive on our staff and he hadn't had clearance, and then he examined an agency, and in that agency he got information which made it possible for him to betray the country.
It would be unfortunate, and it would be most unusual. We don't have any subversive on.
Well, Klaus Fuchs was unusual, wasn't he? And so was Mr. May.
Certainly was.
Now, Mr. Carr, under the present rules for access to files of this committee, if a former communist who hadn't really reformed, or a subversive, or any security risk on this committee staff that might get on it, decided to betray his country by revealing the contents of a secret FBI document which he had found in these files, based to a possible enemy, it would be a relatively simple matter, would it not, for him to do that based on the way these files are handled? Will you answer the question, then we're going to go to the witness. Answer the question. I'm sorry.
Based on the personal privilege you gave Mr. Symington, I'd like to ask one question.
Almost done.
I do want to raise that point before we leave this afternoon.
Raise it briefly, then, because we have to adjourn the vote.
I will raise it as briefly as I can, but may I say that Senator Symington has been here by innuendo trying to smear this staff of young men who have been working to dig out communists. He's talking about what might happen if there were a subversive on the staff. I would like to ask him now, even though he's not under oath, whether he has any information at all of any kind to justify this attempted smear against these 14 young men who have done such an excellent job uncovering communists. If he has no information, then he should be honest enough to tell us. If he has information, he should take the stand and take the oath as these young men have been taking it. Now, may I ask you, Senator, do you have any information to indicate that there is anyone on my staff who is subversive, as you have indicated in your questioning?
Simon didn't answer the question, and we're going to have to recess for the vote. I will answer that question this way, Senator McCarthy. In all the years that I have been in this government, based on the testimony that's been given before this committee under oath, I think the files of what you call my staff, my director, my chief of staff, have been the sloppiest and most dangerously handled files that I have ever known of since I've been in the government.
All right, recess for 10 o'clock. Mr. Chairman, now you can run away if you like, Stu. You can run away if you like. You have been here trying to smear the staff of this committee. The young men who have been working to uncover communists, you jump up and run away without answering the question. I have asked you a simple question. Do you have any evidence of any kind to indicate that there's any subversive amongst these young men? If not, you are leaving here this afternoon leaving a smear upon the name of each and every one of them. You shouldn't do that, Mr. Symington. That's just dishonest. That's the thing that the Communist Party has been doing too long.
Apparently, every time anybody says anything against anybody working for Senator McCarthy, he is swearing them and is accusing them of communism.
Just answer the question. Do you know of any subversive? That's the best answer that I could give. Do you know of anyone?
That is such a leftist deflection. Holy shit. Wow. Wow.
Even though the chair is waving, I want to make this record. And Mr. Reporter, will you take this down? Mr. Reporter, will you take this down? Mr. Symington, other members of the Democrat Party here have been intimating that they know of some subversive on the staff investigating communists. I have asked Mr. Symington point blank to tell us whether he knew of any such subversive. He runs away. He won't answer the question.
He ran away.
The most dishonest, the most unfounded smear.
Now everyone is running away.
Some of the most outstanding young men that I have ever seen work to uncover communists. And before this is over, the American people have a better picture of it. I guess we must go and vote now.
Wow. Well, I think that we might have some idea of why I can't find the footage to these hearings anywhere. They have like wiped the full footage of these hearings like off the face of the earth. That's the God's honest truth, guys. Like, do a search for the full Army McCarthy hearing sometime. You're not going to be able to find them. Like, the audio exists somewhere, but like, holy shit. That was not what I was expecting. I'm going to be honest, because I had confused that with like the House on Un-American Activities Committee, which I now want to watch the House on Un-American Activities Committee hearings. We can do that. I don't have to do school shit. They buried all the footage for those hearings. Wow. Well, that certainly gives me a different impression of Joseph McCarthy than I had prior to this, because that was a sham effing hearing. That was a complete and total sham. The first hour of that series of clips was like, did you know someone who once paid for a shoe shine? And like, what do you make of this photograph of 3 people? It's like, what the fuck are you even what are you even doing? I'm kind of like, my head is kind of spinning on this, to be honest. I don't know what to think. This is like when I red pilled and then you have to go and like reverse engineer everything. You know, has anyone ever been through this where like when I red pilled, I kind of like went back through history. I was like, what do I know that isn't actually true? And I particularly think of like, you know, the Boston Marathon bomber, which I'm not ready to reverse engineer yet because I was effing there. But like, you know, people keep telling me I remember I was in one of my locals calls one time and like we were talking about the Unabomber manifesto and I was like, hang on. Was I told the truth about the Unabomber? And apparently, like, I was told the truth about the Unabomber, but then you go and read the Unabomber manifesto and you're like, holy shit, this is a whole other side of the Unabomber that I had no idea existed. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Deaf to Right says you can't find it. They knew the footage would show McCarthy in a different light. The damage was done by Edward R. Murrow reporting on the hearings and McCarthy to purposely smear him. Yeah, I mean, it's always been as fucked up as it is now. It's always been as fucked up. All right, guys. Well, that'll wrap it up for the stream today. But as a reminder, I will be going live with Joshua in about a little less than 2 hours now for Nothing Remotely Controversial. And if you have never seen Nothing Remotely Controversial, this is a show that Joshua and I do on Tuesday evenings at 9:30 that is more of a lighthearted look at the news. Joshua is a professional psychic, and we psychic what's going on in the world. We take your questions, we make some predictions, stuff like that. And so if you want to come and join us for a little bit of a lighthearted look at the news, we will do that in a couple of hours starting at 9:30 p.m. tonight. Yeah, you can come in, and we already have, oh gosh, a $20 super chat from Casmar. What did Casmar act? Will parents wake up soon and realize what schools are teaching with a lack of academics? How poorly students are testing in core subjects? Oh God, Casmar, thank you for that beautiful, beautiful question. I do really appreciate it. And as a reminder, guys, if you want to help me out and help me to expose these trainings that I want to infiltrate, I would really appreciate it. I am trying to get 200 new paid subscribers to my Substack to be able to do that. And good news, 20 of you have subscribed on this call, so we have 20, so 10% of the way there already, which is really great. Yes, Autumn, I did hear that Musk and Ron DeSantis is launching his presidential campaign, and I'm not sure how to feel about that because I don't really like Ron DeSantis, and I don't want him to. Well, I think he'd be better than Biden. No offense, Autumn, but I'm not the biggest fan of Ron DeSantis in the world. Anyway, 20 new signups today, so we're 10% of the way there. And guys, like you guys know, like you saw me, I was visibly upset at the beginning of this stream because I really want people to want this content. And the thing of it is like it's not that I can't do other things. I can actually do other things that would be substantially more profitable for me. But I just really think this is important. And it has become very clear to me that I cannot do this without the support of individuals. It's never going to get coverage on the media. The influencers are never going to share it. It doesn't really matter what we find. They're never going to share it. They're never going to push it out to their audiences. And it is incumbent upon us to want to pursue this. And if we don't want to do it and I can't get a couple hundred people to chip in for it to say, it is important to expose this information to the world. I really hope people step up. I really, really do. I feel better about it than I did before. So guys, I really do appreciate all the support. It does mean the world, and I'm going to do my very best to help get as many people on board as possible. If you could share what I'm doing out with everyone, I'll put a better post up at some point than the one I have today, because the one I have today, I wanted to explain the context of what was going on and why conservatives are hell-bent on making this more difficult for me than it needs to goddamn be. Yeah. So guys, I'll be back in a couple hours. Check out the Substack if you haven't already. Take care. We'll see you soon.